The opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Parax Radio Network. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to stop by and be with us tonight. Hope everybody has a great time and hope everybody's had a great weekend so far. It's been really nice here. Been not real warm, so we've had a real nice day. Been out running around. And those listening from around the world, we appreciate each and every one of you also. And if you are listening from somewhere other than here in the chat room and you want to come and join all these wonderful people, you can come to the paranormal, that ain't right. You can come to para-x.com and click on the live chat button, and you'll be in with all these wonderful people. And then you'll get to hear the Paranormal View. How's that sound? That's even better. So with that, if you have questions tonight, and you want to send them over to us, you can private chat them to either Ceiling Cat. You can even private chat them to this person, Marla Stirs the Cauldron, or myself, Henry Foister, and we will get those questions out. And if you're listening somewhere else and have questions, you can send them to the Paranormal View at gmail.com. We will get those answered. So tonight we have with us, and I just want to let everybody know that last week we was live at the Bell Nursing Home, and we had some kind of sound issues a little bit. But we got that ironed out, and tonight everything should be sounding great. So we have with us tonight Barbara Duncan.
I'm here.
And we got Jeffrey Gould.
Hello. Not been kicked off yet.
And we have a special guest with us tonight who is actually going to help us with a lot of stuff because our show tonight is...
Needs a lot of help? Oh, wait.
I need a lot of help. But tonight our show is going to be about Halloween. And our special guest tonight is... Jeff, why don't you introduce...
I was sitting there like, no, it's not me. I'm just a co-host. Well, tonight's guest is one of our all-time top favorites, the lovely and talented Marla Brooks, paranormal investigator and author of 10 books, 4 on ghosts, 2 on magic with a K, and CK, and 4 on cooking and television, and the novel Bad Case of the Collywobbles. Marla hosts Stirring the Cauldron here on para-x.com on Thursday evenings, and while occasionally battling with Witch Hunter Canada geese while visiting Hollywood Forever Cemetery, Marla is always welcome here at the Paranormal View. So welcome back, Marla Brooks. Yay!
Well, hello, and thank you.
All right. Well, we're glad you're here because tonight's show is dealing with Halloween.
But before we do that,
what?
Marla also has a line of oils and incense, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, she does. And I forget what the name of those are, but Marla will be able to tell us. I know. I don't myself.
Well, actually, I kind of had to pull those. Yeah, I mean, it was... That love potion 9 3/4 get a little too randy. Well, no. Let's just say that the distributor had some issues.
Oh.
There we go. That's a nice way to say it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know all about that, so that's good right there.
Did they forget strychnine is not a preservative or something?
That probably wouldn't have been a bad thing.
I think they was using too many bat wings, and I believe they put some toads in it.
That could be a little
The
eye
bad
of,
case of the eyes of Newt.
yeah, exactly, the little eye of Newt thing. But yeah, I actually though, okay, I can plug this because it's not even going to happen quite yet, but I should. That I'm coming out probably next year with a kind of a starter kit of crystals and stones that have to do with the Wheel of the Year. So there's going to be like one stone for each Sabbath and a booklet that goes along with it about the stone and how to use it and stuff like that. It's coming out by Schiffer. So, and in a really cute little box and everything. And I'm saying it's a starter kit because each Sabbath has a whole bunch of different stones that are associated with it. But just kind of picking, the good ones. And it'll be like, you'll get stones and a booklet and how to use them and all that good stuff at the same time. So I'm kind of excited about that. And each stone will have an incantation as well.
Mhm.
So,
Along with your oracle deck.
kind of like that, yeah. Yeah, and you probably can use the stones with the oracle deck. Everything's kind of, branding in together there. But I just thought it was kind of interesting. I've had, and you guys should have him on, Nicholas Pearson, who is like the gemstone expert on crystals and stones. And he's been on my show a couple of times because he's written 2 or 3 books. And they're really good. So that kind of got me a little bit more interested in crystals and stones, more than, I knew. And he's the guy I had. All right, here, I'm taking over the show, but this is a good story.
You're the guest. That's your job.
It's not. But when my mom passed away, with her stuff, there was this big, huge rock. And I mean, it was like a 2-handed rock to hold on to. And it was black and it was shiny. And I really thought it was a shiny lump of tar. I did. I thought maybe she went to the La Brea tar pits at some point in her life and had some tar. And I didn't know what to do with it, but I didn't want to throw it out. So I've had it for years. Didn't know, whatever. But when Nicholas came on my show and he started talking about different things, I thought, well, I'm going to ask him. So I sent him over a picture of this huge rock, this piece of tar, this shiny piece of tar. And in about 30 seconds, he came back with, oh my God, that's a huge piece of obsidian.
Whoa.
Yeah. So it's a good thing I didn't throw it out. But anyway, that kind of got me, and listening to him on the show got me kind of more interested in stones and stuff. And I thought, people always want to go out and buy stones. I want to have this, I need quartz, I need this, I need that. And sometimes you don't know what exactly you need it for, but it's pretty and you buy it, right? I've done that. Peacock ore, for example, is gorgeous. So I keep that. But so this is, goes along. I mean, you don't have to be pagan to buy it or anything, but there'll be a stone for Samhain. There'll be a stone. I think it's black onyx. I've already thought that one out. And a stone for each. And then the box will be such that you can add your stones to the little individual places where you have the Sabbath stones. So yeah, I just, something new, something different. And, I just had to bid a fond farewell to the oils and incense for now. But this is something else that's coming up, and it's kind of fun, I think.
That's really interesting because I now have a huge slab of obsidian as well, parked next to the front door.
See?
Because it's very good for protection. So it's a good spot for
bashing burglars over the head with it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would work too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, but I didn't think it was anything. I mean, it's like, why would my mother have this huge hunk of obsidian? But then I found out that I know where she got it now because she was good friends with the ex-editor of the Tombstone Epitaph, the newspaper in Tombstone. And he was a miner. And there is tons and tons of obsidian in Arizona. So I think Wayne got that on one of his mining expeditions, and I think he gave it to her, and I think that's how it got there.
Like from Bisbee?
I guess, yeah.
Because that's the only, I'm sure there's more than that in mine, but that's the only mine of which I'm actually aware, having taken a tour in there.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but I would think that's probably it. I mean, the guy, yes, he lived in Tombstone and, edited the newspaper, but I'm sure as a miner he got around and that was one of the biggest mines, yeah.
Well,
And
plus it's really close to Tombstone.
there, that too. And when I looked up, Arizona and obsidian, it said, wow, Arizona is well known for its obsidian. So but that was kind of neat being able to put it together, because all these years I had this lump of tar, and I thought, Mom, where the heck did you get this? And then two and two together, when Nicholas told me it was obsidian, and then I'm thinking, oh, Wayne was a miner. Yeah, there we go. So it's kind of like it solved itself, the mystery. That was kind of cool.
Well, and talking about the stuff that you get, because you and I have talked about this before about ancestral altars,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering if you are going to also have a book or a section on that.
I could. I could add that. I mean, definitely, because I have stones on my. I keep my ancestor altar on all year long. Just because I don't think I mean, we're supposed to remember the ancestors on Samhain, on Halloween, but I think if some people only do that once a year, that's not really great. So I keep mine up all the time, and I've got like amethyst, and I've got quartz, raw amethyst and raw quartz on there, and it's a good thing to have on an altar. It's a good thing to have on you, and then I've got a little box in there full of all kinds of stones. And it was interesting because when my dad died, his mom sent me a big suitcase full of his stuff from, World War II, and all kinds of letters, and even things that he had when he was a kid. And one of the things that was in this huge suitcase, it looks like somebody's old carpet bag. It's like a 1920s suitcase. It's really very interesting. But there was a box of marbles. And one of them is a cat's eye, and it's really beautiful. Or it looks not like the cat's eye that, we see in the regular marbles. This is kind of neat. So I actually have a couple of marbles on the thing too, because they really do match with the stone. So
Nice.
yeah, but yeah, people should always keep some kind of an altar going, even if it's a tiny little thing, if you're going to remember the ancestors. And stones are very appropriate on there for whatever reason. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should add that to the book. Good thinking, Cece. Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, would you consider the Day of the Dead then to be an ancestral Memorial Day
It is.
as opposed to Halloween, which is kind of a little bit different?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the Mexican culture, the Dia de los Muertos is something that you honor the dead with the sugar skull and all that stuff. So it's just another kind of remembrance, if that's a good way of putting it. But yeah, I mean, we celebrate Halloween, we celebrate Samhain, but there are a lot of people, I think, and you guys can answer this. I mean, when you were younger growing up and stuff, did you ever think of Halloween as being something to do with your ancestors, or did you think about it being the boogeyman and ghosts?
Oh, it's mostly boogeyman and ghosts.
As a
Yeah.
That's the way I was raised. Only I was afraid of the ghost year round.
Oh, see, karma got you, didn't it? Now you're chasing them. But yeah, so I think, everybody has a different way of looking at things. Samhain has always been more towards the emotional side, in a sense, about, the ancestors and those that have gone before and what they've done, and, revere them and have a dumb supper and set a place for them. I mean, there isn't really, and maybe Dia de los Muertos kind of does the same thing. I've never really been to a celebration, and except for seeing, the sugar skulls around and the coffins and little things like that. I don't know if they have something like we do, where we really kind of get into the ancestor thing. But I'm sure they, do certain things like that. But in this country, I mean, Halloween, can you think of any other holiday that, okay, Memorial Day remembers war heroes and servicemen,
heroes, yeah.
But what is there? Do we have another holiday particularly to think of our ancestors? I don't can't
sure.
think of.
Yeah,
That's a really good question.
Thanksgiving.
I don't think
like Christmas.
Kind of, but that's not universal.
Yeah, I mean, all right, Thanksgiving is you give thanks for what you have, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're thanking your ancestors because some people may not
You may not be
think about
thanking,
that.
but you're at least thinking of them at those times when the
Hopefully.
family members are not there anymore.
Hopefully.
And
But
when I was at my friend's place for Thanksgiving some years ago, they all traditionally take a shot of whiskey or bourbon to honor their late father.
hmm And that's a good tradition. And in my house, Thanksgiving was not about that. I mean, it was, with the people that you were with then and the family, but I don't think anybody ever really talked about those who were missing, except in, it's sad to say, but unless it was someone that passed away during the year.
Well,
They didn't think about it. They didn't talk about it.
we
Like the
do
Oscars.
a lot because of, boy, she could really fix Thanksgiving dinner or
Yeah.
stuff like that,
Oh, then it just goes automatically into, you say my turkey's not good, and then it just escalates from there.
He's right. He's right.
Mashed potato fight. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's all fun and games until somebody brings out the fruitcake.
Yeah.
And then you're in trouble.
Uh-oh, I like fruitcake.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
yeah. Don't tell
Yeah.
Patsy.
Oh, no, I haven't said a word. Didn't hear me say that. Nope.
Tonight we're talking about Halloween. And
And Samhain.
what is the real history of Halloween? What did it derive from? How did it get started?
And Jeff, you can jump in on this too, but, it goes back about 2,000 years. It's a harvest festival, and the Celts believed that at Samhain time, which is like the third harvest, that was a time that, for some reason, that they believed that ghosts of the dead were able to mingle with the living. It was the souls of those who had died during the year that traveled to the other world at that time, and so they started by lighting bonfires in their honor, and it helped. Now, see, I was reading where it said bonfires were lit in their honor to aid them on their journey. Now, what does that mean? Was that like lighting a fire, or giving somebody a hot foot to get them across? I mean,
I think
it
it's
was-
more like
Light
as though moving towards the light wasn't easy enough. It's like might be dark before the light.
Well, that's true. I just got the hot foot picture in my head, and I thought that doesn't make sense.
No.
But the bonfires were also lit in their honor, and also they did the bonfires to keep them away from the living, because on Samhain all manners of beings were thought to be out and about, ghosts and fairies and demons, and everything that went bump in the night. So it was a Celtic holiday tradition, harvest thing, and that's kind of where it started. But then it kind of switched over to Halloween, that most people know, when the Christian missionaries attempted to change the religious practices of the Celtics. I mean, in the early centuries, way back in the first millennium, before the missionaries, like St. Patrick and stuff, they started converting pagans to Christianity, and
Usually not pleasantly.
right. Yeah, no, it was under duress, but it and the Druids, who were the priests and the poets, and Jeff, you know about this.
Yeah.
They were the religious leaders. They were the ritual specialists. They were the bearers of the learning, and very much the same as the very missionaries and monks who were Christian to try and change the people around. So I'm sure that wasn't exactly a very fun time.
No.
But the Christians wanted to make a holiday that was similar. That's kind of, if you read up on it, most of the holidays that we share were similar, because they would look at our holidays and make one close to it,
Well, if you look at a Catholic Mass, essentially you're looking at a pagan Mass. Almost everything is mirrored, because they were like, well, if we use their tools like knives and cakes and ale and all sorts of stuff, and we simply say we're referring to Jesus, not a different deity, then people, and of course, my favorite thing they used to do is conscript builders to build churches on pagan meeting grounds. So pagans would show up to do their circle and like, why is there a building here?
Yeah, we don't need no stinking building. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you look at the architecture of some of the earliest churches, you'll see pentacles, Jewish six-pointed stars, and all this little stuff. So like, yeah, we'll put a little few, and I know they didn't have the term Easter eggs at the time, but pretty much
Right.
that's what they are.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. I mean, so, that's why it's so common. They just, if you're going to convert somebody, you have to convert them in a way that they recognize what they're being converted to.
Yep.
And that's kind of pretty much what they did. But so that went on for the longest time. But there were lots of pagans who did not convert and would practice, themselves and never let anybody know that they're doing it. And this is kind of how we kept on going in that respect. But it's interesting that how Halloween got to America. All these years later. Let's jump from way back then to about the 1800s. The Irish get a pat on the back for doing that because there were nearly 2 million Irish immigrants that came over here, with the potato famine. And they are the ones that are given credit for helping shape Halloween into even a more widely celebrated event. Scottish immigrants came too. They celebrated with fireworks and telling ghost stories and playing games and making mischief. And that's where some of the games came from, bobbing for apples and something that I've never heard of, dropping of forks on apples without using your hands or something. I mean, all kinds of different things. So they came over with the immigrants, and even the English, the observation of Guy Fawkes Day on November 5th kind of came to be intertwined with Halloween as well. Anything that's got pranks and mischief is going to catch on.
Well, Guy Fawkes Day was more, obviously that was a week later, and it was almost more astrological Samhain, 15 degree in Scorpio.
Right.
Whereas the 31st, they just sort of like grabbed that the way the churches decided, well, let's try and take December 21st, the winter solstice, and make that into our Christmas, and we'll use the 25th because it has such historical significance, like, battles and stuff like that.
Well, and the church made November 2nd All Souls Day.
Yep.
Yeah.
November 1st, yeah.
1st,
Now, have you ever heard of a film called Lightning Bug? It's a little-known film, which I only saw because Laura Prepon was in it. And I loved her in the 70s show. And she plays a girlfriend of the lead guy whose mother is like Carrie's mother type of proselytizing Christian type of woman. And he goes off to, he wants to go out and celebrate Halloween. He's in his very early 20s or late teens, and she's at one point she literally says, that's based on a pagan holiday, don't you? And he goes, well, yeah, so is Christmas.
Wow. I don't think people know, Easter too. The real big holidays, and because they're around the same time, and they all again fall around the harvest season and the planting and the reaping and the sowing and the whatever. I don't think people realize that so much.
Yeah,
it's not really taught in schools.
Well, Easter.
Well, and we've kind of hijacked holidays too, because although Halloween would have been more of a harvest festival, in the United States at least, now we changed that to a Thanksgiving sort of holiday, which is more harvest related.
Right.
And Halloween takes on a completely kind of different tone, at least in the United States, I think. Maybe Canada has Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all in, Henry was saying the other day, how did Halloween get so commercial and everything? But the interesting thing, okay, here's the question for you all, and you all get a brownie point if you get it. When and where did the first Halloween celebrations take place?
You talking about here in America?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, wasn't there a lady in Kansas who hated the fact that kids were pulling up and tearing up stuff, so she invented a Halloween parade?
That could be, but that's not what I was looking at earlier.
Okay.
But I mean, there's always somewhere. But there is, I've never heard of this, but then I'm a West Coaster. There's a town called Anoka, Minnesota, which claims to be the Halloween capital of the world. And it was the first city in America to officially hold a Halloween celebration. And similar to what you just said, Cece, it was done in an effort to divert the kids from pulling pranks like tipping out houses and letting the cows run loose down Main Street. And it said the town organized a parade and spent weeks prior to planning and making costumes and, popcorn and peanuts and candy and all that was going on. And the event grew over time, and it was held every year since 1920. That was the first year it started. And there was only 2 years that they didn't have it, which was 1942 and 1943 when they were canceled because of World War II. But they still hold elaborate festivals with parades and carnivals, and costumes and everything. And then it says also that Salem, Massachusetts, associated with witches, due in part to the history. But they said they also laid claim to the title of Halloween capital of the world. And so, and the quote was that many historians quietly back away from that debate, leaving the two cities to duke it out for themselves. I like that.
I fell off. Which two cities?
Salem and Anoka, Minnesota.
Anoka, Minnesota. I'll have to look that up.
Yes, you do, because they since the 1920s they claim to have been the Halloween capital of the world. Yes.
Ah. Well,
that would be Scandinavian.
Anoka, Minnesota, maybe. I guess. Yeah.
Now, I know that there's a new show called Haunted USA, and they did a one of their little documentary episodes on Salem, but we were mostly on the ghosts and the hauntings around there, as well as the occult stores. They didn't mention Lori Cabot. Is she still with us?
Yeah, she is.
I don't know why they didn't deal with her at all, unless she just didn't want to be bothered with them, or.
I don't know. Some people are afraid of her.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why. They should be more afraid of Lori Bruno.
I don't know who that is.
Lori Bruno is, she's in Salem. She's a Salem witch. She's an elderly woman, but boy, she got spunk. And I had her on my show. She's a Strega, Italian witch. And you got to be careful with them. And so
my metaphysical teacher was a Strego. So.
Mm-hmm. And so I had her on my show years ago, and we were talking about it, and I was not being tongue-in-cheek, but I was just curious, lighthearted, because I didn't want people to get scared, because she was talking about how they take responsibility for whatever they do. They don't believe in the rule of three. They're willing to pay for, if they make a mistake, they're willing to pay for it. Oh. And I said to her, I said, well, how do you feel when people say that they're kind of afraid of Stregas? And she didn't miss a beat. She just sat there and she said, they should be. Don't. It was great.
Probably a good point.
Yeah, I mean, she's a pistol, but she's really in the Salem community. She's very well known in there, and maybe Lori Cabot just kind of took a back seat for a while. I'm not sure.
Now, Kathy in the chat room wanted to know if that was Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
How many other Salems are there?
There's Salem, Oregon.
Well, she was talking also about Minnesota, and she didn't know if that city there called Salem also. So.
Could be.
Yeah,
that's true. Got Springfields all over the place.
Yeah. Huh. So, yeah, we do.
And Henry lives in Trenton, Ohio, and I'm from a state its capital is Trenton.
Right.
And it's not Ohio.
It's New Jersey.
Nobody says New Jersey except Brooklynites and people who have speech impediments. Although the witch owning the shop in the Haunted USA episode had such a Boston accent, it was so distracting.
Do you remember her name?
I don't. I can't pull it up because it would. Well, maybe I'll try pulling it up during the break. So.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because I know a couple that really do sound very, very much like that. And it's some if you're in the community and you hear it every day, you don't notice it. But when you're not, it's like, whoa, strong accent. But then people accuse West Coasters of having accents too, and I just don't see that.
I think anybody that has who can vocalize has an accent. It just depends on, from where you are.
True. Yeah.
I think what we'll do is go ahead and, excuse me, something back up. We're going to go ahead and take a break, a quick one kind of, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about what was Halloween like when you were young. So you can be thinking on that.
That could have been so better phrased, but I'm just saying.
All right. Anyway, Jeffrey's going to take us out, and then I will bring us back, I guess. Jeff, you should be able to hear it if you wanted to bring us back. But that's up to you. No,
well, it doesn't,
I'll bring us back. You take us out, I'll bring us back.
Okay. Well, you're listening to the Paranormal View on para-x.com with your hosts Henry Foister, ceiling cat Barbara Duncan, and myself, Jeffrey Gould, with tonight's always wonderful guest, Marla Brooks. So stay tuned for more of the Paranormal View after the break.
It's always time for the dead to shine in Hollywood. The legendary Dearly Departed Tours has stepped up their ghostly game by offering the Hollywood Ghosts and Legends Walking Tour. Dearly Departed has long been an orb of hope in the paranormal world, having been featured on television's Haunted History and Haunted Collector. Their terrible tales have been made infamous in Marla Brooks' The Ghosts of Hollywood books. The new Ghosts and Legends Tour is a 10-block, 70-minute dusk-time stroll down the boulevard of broken dreams. You'll be guided through the golden age of Hollywood and see where the unearthly Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney, and the calamitous Black Dahlia are still said to linger. You'll see Hollywood's Gothic hotels, legendary theaters, and restaurants, never forgetting their permanent occupants. No stranger to investigations, Dearly Departed Tours has first-hand knowledge of some of these hauntings. For details of the Hollywood Ghosts and Legends Walking Tour, find Dearly Departed Tours on Facebook, dearlydepartedtours.com, or call 1-855-600-DEAD.
We all go through life secure in the knowledge of who we are. But what would you do if one day you found out that you grew up in a family that wasn't quite as normal as you were led to believe? You see, the world around us is very complex. It's made up of many layers. And when you start to peel back those layers, either by choice or by accident, you just might discover a hidden truth. The magical world and the mortal worlds are intermingled, with no physical boundary between them. It's all a matter of perception. In Shelley Gordon's case, it's also a matter of destiny. And what she uncovers about herself after her chance encounter with Timothy Titchmarsh, a mysterious little old man with a twinkle in his eye, changed her life completely. He told her of shocking, carefully guarded family secrets that had been unspoken for many generations. But the biggest shock of all was learning that she was not only a witch, but the great-granddaughter of an elite sorceress who tragically died before she could carry out a vital and perilous task that Shelley was now fated to complete. The thought of having to learn the craft, integrate herself into the magical world, and risk her life to finish the task is enough to give anyone a bad case of the Collywobbles. Marla Brooks' new fiction book, A Bad Case of the Collywobbles, is now available at Amazon.com in both paperback and Kindle formats. Visit her website at marlabrooks.com to find out more.
Are you psychic? Do you often have dreams that come true? Do you have an interest in hypnosis or astrology? If you'd like to learn more about classes, events, and books on metaphysics, then go to our website, www.theartofmediumship. This is Elaine Kosmeskis, director of the New England School of Metaphysics and author of The Art of Mediumship.
Hi, this is Mike from Mr. G's Ice Cream Store in Gettysburg, the most haunted ice cream store in town. Stop in and see us next time you're around. We feature 16 flavors of homemade ice cream made right here in the store. Look forward to seeing you.
Hi, this is Master Tarot Card Reader Ken Boggle, and I highly encourage you to tune in every Monday night to the Para X Radio Network for the Para Cave, hosted by Matt Gesso, as he goes in search of the truth in the supernatural, metaphysical, mystic, and paranormal. Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, only on the Para X Radio Network. I never miss it, and neither should you.
Hey there. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a great new radio show on Para X. 2 hosts, 1 hour, and too much fun. Stephanie and Heidi not only talk about the latest goings-on in the supernatural worlds, they live it. They want to hear from you. They want to help you understand and guide you. And they want you to tune in. So, grab a friend or come alone to gather around that metaphysical table with Heidi and Stephanie. If you're interested in the worlds of the unseen, tune in to the Gathering Radio Show, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Para X Radio.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para X.
Who knows what lurks in the hearts of men?
I thought you were just laughing because it's the first time I heard them saying 2 hosts, 1 hour.
The shadow knows. Welcome back, everybody, to the Paranormal View right here on the Parax Radio Network.
That was a recording?
Mysterious voices for some reason. And tonight we have with us Barbara Duncan.
I'm still here.
And we have Jeffrey Gould.
I'm not unmute. I'm muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I've heard you the whole time.
Oh, you just didn't respond.
And we have Marla Brooks with us. And tonight we are talking about Halloween. And before we went to break, we was talking about what was Halloween like when you was a kid? What did you do for Halloween? I know I'm probably a little bit older than most. Halloween was a little bit different back then. I think kids could go out and run around and get candy and stuff a lot more freely, you might say, without fear of. And I know that it doesn't happen all the time, but they have the big scare of razor blades and poison and this and that. Back when I was young, we didn't get any of that. Nowadays, they set a time like, from 6 to 7 or something like that, you can trick or treat, and that's it, you know. Back when I was young, when it started to get a little bit dark, you hit the streets. And you wouldn't come back sometimes till 9 o'clock at night. You'd have big old pillowcases stuffed with candy and stuff. So I never had any problems. And usually it was 3 or 4 kids out running at the same time together. Very seldom was the parents with them. So as got up into the years, I know when I would go out with my son, I would be going out with them. They didn't run the streets like I did. So what was it like when you guys went out?
It was still pretty safe back when I was a kid. I mean, we didn't go overly far, but we had, our mom was a costumer, so we always had rather nice, interesting costumes. And yeah, we would go out and hit a few blocks and head on home, pretty much.
Same here.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Go out, grab a lot of candy, come back, eat till you get sick. And
Barbara.
although I do have a great Halloween story, and that was when I moved to the East Bay here. There, we had a nice entranceway, and there were a couple of trick-or-treaters. One of the little kids had this cat costume on, and it was perfect. It looked like a real cat. And my cats would run to the door every time somebody knocked to yell trick-or-treat. And they looked up, saw this huge cat, and their eyes got really wide. It's like, wow! Biggest kitty I've ever seen. They loved it.
Super kitty.
They weren't frightened. Yeah. Big super kitty. Like a,
like Hermione when the Polyjuice potion didn't work?
Like a 38-inch tall cat.
Oh.
Very cute.
So, how old were you when you moved out to the West Coast?
21.
Well, where'd you live at before?
Iowa.
Iowa. So what was trick-or-treating like in Iowa?
Oh, I told you. You go out, get a lot of candy, come home, eat till you get sick, and that was it.
Did all the kids dress up pretty much? Yeah.
Usually.
We did the stuff. They'd put makeup on, and the big red lips around your face or whatever, and black eye and different things like that. Pretty much most of our costumes were like made with whatever mom could throw together, not go out and spend, I don't know, what does costume run now? $25 or more?
Mm.
I mean, if you go to these stores to buy a costume for a kid, it's not cheap anymore. So, and I suppose Marla just flew around on her broom.
I used to have to find a costume that resembled humans. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. But one year I did dress up as a cat. I did. And I had the ears, and I had the tail, and I had the whiskers, and didn't have any, the tail and the ears were furry. That was it. But I was like 20. And so it was, you put on the leotard and the tights and the ballet shoes, and then you just, throw on your ears and the tail, and that damn tail my mother made it, and it was about 3 feet long, at least, and it was sewed on to the back of the leotard. And every time I turned around, I hit somebody with it. And when I tried to sit down, I'd stand up, and it would bring the chair with it. It was kind of a rigid tail. It was kind of dangerous. Not unlike my cat now, his tail. Whip, 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 whip all the time. Yeah.
Huh.
Kitties. But yeah, it's changed over the years. Well, I think every holiday is pretty much changed now. You don't do a lot of the things, even for the big holidays. Thanksgiving now has become more of a shopping day. Christmas is now more of a shopping day. So, you don't celebrate the same way.
What?
On any holiday now.
Why do you think that is?
Greed.
I think it has a lot to do with it, because you figure Thanksgiving, Christmas was supposed to be like family holidays when families got together and they'd spend all day together. You don't see that anymore. My son and might come over, him, wife, and the kids. They might be here, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours maybe, eat, and by the time it starts getting dark, they're gone to go home. When I was young, we would probably eat at my mom's, and everybody in the world would come there to eat, so there'd be people in and out all day. Sometimes we'd eat there and then go to another family member's house, and spend time there also. So they just don't do that anymore. I think number one is everybody's too busy, and number two is what you were saying, greed. Oh, let's go get in line at the stores to buy stuff for when? Oh, Christmas. Yeah. So
It's sad.
Now, Kathy in the chat put in a really good comment, and that is families don't live very close together anymore.
and
And Marla, this goes back to your ancestral um, uh, altar, which
Hmm.
is, would, wouldn't that also work for people who are not close
Well,
by?
yeah. I mean, the altars are what you put into them. I mean, this one's got a label. It's an ancestor altar. You're supposed to remember the ancestors. So I have pictures of ancestors back as far as great grandmother. That's as far as I can get. And then things that belong to them. But an altar, I mean, in general, can be anything you want it to be of any kind of celebration or remembrance, or just things that are important to you or something. It's like your little church, and you can put anything on there. But I think I really do think it's important that we not forget the ancestors for a number of reasons. Basically, well, if they weren't there, we wouldn't be here. That's a good one. um, for us, for witches, for people that do the craft, I mean, things have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. That's something that, we thank them for a lot. The old ways, the ancient ways. So, but you can, people, I think I've heard of people that have altars up for family members who were in the service and who passed away. Or just even a military altar for everybody that they knew that was in the service, whether they're still here or not, died in action or not. I think altars are really an important thing, and you don't have to stick them up and make this big shrine out of them. I mean, I've got a shelf of my bookcase. One of the shelves is my altar, partly because the cat can't get to it there. But the other part is that it's just somewhere that it's out of the way, and people probably don't notice it when they walk in necessarily. Um, but see, that's the thing about it. A lot of people, and I'm not going against organized religion at all, but a lot of people think you have to go to church or a synagogue or, a mosque to be able to celebrate your religion or to celebrate things around you. Pagans, we're like turtles. We carry our sacred space and our things on our backs in a sense. We can open a circle of protection. We don't have to go to a church or whatever. And I think the spirituality of this whole thing is really, really important in our daily lives, because a lot of people have lost that. We're so busy with the here and now and what's going on in this world and whatever, we don't take the time to think back, and it's really comforting to know that you look over at your altar and you see something that belonged to your great grandmother or something, for example. It gives you a spiritual feeling of family, and I think that is kind of missing a lot these days.
That connection to the past, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that makes a good rock band, the Pagan Turtles. Woohoo.
Just a shell of
But yeah, I
themselves.
kind of agree, and especially with families that do carry on the tradition through lineage,
Hmm.
because there are a lot of families that do that. You're also going to carry along that power to that thread
Yes.
through the altar, I would believe.
Hmm. You do. And see, this is the other thing. People say, "Oh, I can't do an altar. I don't know how to do an altar. I don't know what." You do it. It kind of, you do what you feel. Put up there what you want, whatever's important to you. You want to pray on it, pray on it. If you don't. Some people say that if you put a glass of water on the altar, that attracts the spirits. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, but there's no right or wrong way. But just it's like, all right, you guys, everybody that's listening, Have you ever had one of those days that you're just kind of down and kicking the can and everything, and you go to your photo albums and you start looking at family pictures and things when you were little and how that calms you down and how that centers you and it brings you back because you get that feeling, all of a sudden you're 5 years old again, you're looking at pictures of people that you knew back then. Same thing with an altar. It's like, well, for me, I didn't have a lot of pictures because of, losing my house and losing everything in it a long time ago. All my photos were gone except for a very few. And I've been able to, talk to a couple of relatives here and there and fill in. But just having all those pictures there, just looking at them, looking at the grandparents, the great-grandparents, the parents, and also you put your animals, you put your little fur babies. I've got pictures of all of mine that have crossed over. It's just something that calms you down, and it's kind of a wonderful feeling. And it doesn't take but, a little while and a little bit of thought to do it. And if you're really into it, it'll kind of build itself. It'll tell you what should go on the altar, which is kind of neat. But it's just some place that you can go and get that warm, fuzzy feeling that we've lost pretty much these days.
It doesn't have to be super elaborate either, because I'd have a lot of pagan friends that if you didn't recognize what an altar meant, you could easily look at it and not even realize it's an altar.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's personal choice. And, it can be elaborate. It can be nothing. It can be, people look at mine and, okay, so there's a few pentagrams there. They might get the hint. But, and of course, the Cauldron, which survived last night because Tim Shaw got me a cute little cauldron, one of those really heavy ones they're heavy like a ball of lead kind of cauldrons, but tiny, goes on the altar. And as I said earlier, I put the altar up to a place where T could not get to it. So I thought, until last night. Because about 4 o'clock in the morning, I heard this god-awful crash. I couldn't even imagine what it was. I have hardwood floors in here. And this thing went bang, and I sat up and I'm looking around for broken glass or whatever. He's long gone because I'm sure it scared the heck out of him, but it's like on a high shelf, and he somehow managed to paw that thing right off the shelf. That cauldron came crashing down, and I think there's a divot in the floor now. But, so if you have pets, try to keep things away from them. But not all pets are kind of, like Conan the Destroyer like T is. But, yeah, it survived.
That happens.
Sure.
So now when we talk about Halloween and ancestors, the practice wasn't ever to call up the ancestors in that manner on Halloween, correct?
They were, back in the old days, people were running from them. That's where costumes came from. The original reason that people wore costumes on that night was because people thought that these were the nights where the devils and the whatever came out, and you didn't want to walk outside at night because you might be recognized by them. So people put on costumes if they had to go out at night on Halloween night, Samhain night. So the spirits and the boogeymen and all that would think that they were one of them and wouldn't recognize them and probably grab them off and take them, into the bowels of hell or whatever. So that's just, that was kind of something that I didn't really think about, but people back then were deathly afraid of things that were on the other side because other than, I guess, their ancestors, they thought everything was bad and scary, and it probably was because there were lots of tales like that,
Oh, yeah, I guess.
That's
or if you didn't treat your ancestor well, then
they would
come back.
come back, and so put on that clown nose to make sure they don't recognize you, right?
Be in trouble, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the bonfire tradition came too, because the fire was supposed to keep the bad spirits away as well. I would think.
And is that true with the jack-o'-lantern?
Well, the jack-o'-lantern, it was a kind of protective thing. And, there are different versions of why jack-o'-lanterns came to be and how they came to be. And I think Henry has something that I stole from Steve Shockley today.
Right.
All about, the legend of the jack-o'-lantern, and it's kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, we're going to play that in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Actually, when I'm not sure, I read it a while ago, but the one thing, the way it started out was they used to be made out of turnips.
Right.
Would put a burning piece of coal in a turnip so I guess the spirits or whatever there was could light their way or something like that.
And those turnips were scary.
Oh, yes. And that's what it used to be a long time ago, was turnips. And then it comes over to the pumpkin and all that, which we're going to find out about that in a minute. But way back when, what kids used to get for Halloween, and I don't mean back when we was young, it was even earlier than that when they was actually going out trick-or-treating or having things. They didn't actually get candy because they didn't make the kind of candy that we have today. So what kind of things were they getting like for Halloween?
Soul cakes. I mean, trick-or-treating comes from people going a-souling, and it's citizens. It started in a bad way. I mean, poor people would beg for food, and families would give them pastries called soul cakes, and in return for their promise, or they got it in return for the promise to pray for the family's dead relatives. And interestingly enough, the distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food or wine for the roaming spirits. So there's a really neat song. I don't know if we could have played it, but called "Going a-Souling," and it's really neat. But that tradition of begging for food, going to the door, knocking to the door, eventually turned around to kids who would visit the houses in their neighborhood and be given ale and food and a little bit of money here and there. So that's what they were after at that point early on.
So are those soul cakes very similar to the ingestion of food for around funerals, like sin eating?
I don't know. Probably. I mean, people cooked very much more simple than we do back then anyway. So I'm guessing they were just kind of like little round hockey pucky kind of things. And it was nutrition. I mean, when you're starving, a little hockey puck, a little piece of dough is going to fill you up, which is kind of nice. But it went from the soul cakes to the kids who then got little money. And then I guess because when I was a kid, way back when, people were still giving kids pennies for trick or treat. Nobody ever gave nickels or dimes, but lots of people would throw pennies in our bags. We thought that was.
I was just interested the soul cake part.
Yeah.
Was that the soul of a person?
That's the way it's spelled. Yeah, but maybe it had to do with the soul of maybe giving was from the soul too. I'm not sure about that, but that would be something interesting to look up. Why they call them soul cakes with SOUL.
Yeah.
Good question.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard it said something else, SOL. Is that the way you say? No. Oh, no, it's not it. Okay. All right. Kids, I guess nowadays, though, they go to the store and everybody buys $40 worth of candy because the price of candy has gone skyrocket because of commercialism.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It is. And when kids come, do you guys pass out candy and stuff, or what do you pass out?
Mm-hmm. Candy.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of trick-or-treaters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not as much. I mean, when we were kids, as you said, it was like sardine cans trying to walk down the street. But
yeah.
It depends on the neighborhood. I mean, when I was in Hollywood, We didn't have so many because I think people were kind of afraid to go out at night and whatever. But now that I'm in the suburbs, we see quite a few out. But again, like you said, um, it's not the same. They go out just at the crack of the sun going down, and maybe 7:30 they're through. When we were out, like you said, you're out till 9, 10 o'clock. We were too. We
Yeah.
didn't go out until 7 or 8. We went out at the time that kids are now coming back in.
Right.
Hmm.
And I guess the neighborhoods has a lot to do with that.
It does, yeah, it does.
The first year that we lived here, I bet we didn't get 2 kids come by our house because the area wasn't completely built up yet. It was older homes going to the west of us, new homes back behind us, but nothing going down the road to the east from us. And so most of the kids that was down to the west, that's where they were trick-or-treating at. They hardly would ever come on down to our street because there wasn't but 1 or 2 new houses down through here. So we didn't get hardly anybody. And then for a long time, they started building it up, and we would get a few here and there. I think last year and the year before, we had probably the most that we've had. So I'm expecting probably a lot of kids come by this year. And I think the weather also plays a big part in it, whether it's rainy or real cold. So that really has a lot to do with it.
Well, I know some people that won't open the door because they're afraid the gang members are going to come to the door, we used to be worried about getting egged or TP'd, and now people worry about getting robbed and hurt. And so a lot of people won't open the door in certain neighborhoods because they're just afraid of who might be on the other side, and it's not going to be the ghost that they're afraid of.
Say it's not going to be the ghost.
No, it's going to be a human being that they're afraid of. And, for us to get to this point in this country, to be afraid to open the door on Halloween for kids because you're afraid that somebody's going to come in and beat the heck out of you or rob you or whatever, that's really some pretty sad commentary. But it.
Oh, yeah, well, it's the same as paranormal investigation. I'm more of afraid of the living.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There you go.
I'm of the
Yeah,
dead,
absolutely.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. Jeff's still having problems getting back on. He'll get on for maybe 2 seconds and then drops right back off. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and hopefully that maybe he'll be back. And then we'll play the commercial, or not commercial, but the thing that Shockley has got for us about the history of the pumpkin when we come back. With that being said, and Jeff's not here, not Marla, Barbara gets to take us out. How's that sound?
I can do that.
Okay.
Folks, you're listening to the Paranormal View here on ParaX Radio and our Halloween Spooktacular with our very special guest, Marla Brooks. We will be right back after a few messages.